I have a very good equation with my daughter. She was asking me, "Hey, Dad, why do people drink and smoke when it's not good for them?" I told her, maybe you ought to try sometime when you get older and find out yourself. And she was like, "What? Are you seriously asking me to try it?"
For everyone listening, watching, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to fitness.
Sure. So, hey everyone, my name is Jitendra Chouksey. I am 37 years old. I stay with my wife, my daughter, and 3 little dogs in Pune. I was unfit, unhealthy as a kid, and I started working out very early when I was 14 years old. And so far, I've been working out for the last 24 years. In 2013, I started helping a couple of my friends and family members get fit, get healthy over a small WhatsApp group. And then from WhatsApp, because a lot of people started joining me, we moved to Facebook and we created a community which became known as Fittr today. And we also created an enterprise which was basically built around helping anybody who needs fitness-related information for free. At the same time, if somebody needs a personalized attention, a coach, then they pay and they enroll with a coach and they get results. We did this, and in 2016, we started our company called Fittr. We bootstrapped it with an initial capital of 90,000 rupees, and now we are a multi-million-dollar company after almost 7 years. And we have trained and transformed over 300,000 plus people. We have roughly 500 to 600 coaches globally in 103 countries, and that's pretty much it.
And I also remember, initially, and I've also heard a lot about through your other interviews where you mentioned that, your parents come from humble beginnings, your father was a farmer. How did you make time? Back in the day, fitness was like a luxury. Gym membership leni hai. I remember like 20 years ago when I signed up with my first paycheck, I signed up for a gym membership, which was 20,000 rupees back then. All my friends were like, annual membership 20,000, and all my friends were like, how can you waste so much money, dude? There's so much more you can do. We can party, we can go here, we can do that. And I was like, no, this is important to me. But it was hard explaining to people. When you come from modest backgrounds, किसी को अपना passion बताना, लोगों का हंसना, and then to still go ahead and do that requires a lot of courage. And especially because when resources are constrained, how did you do it?
I was very unfit. I was very unhealthy, and so people were
Define unfit. Define unfit for me.
I was fat. I was ugly. I was socially awkward.
Are you saying fat is ugly?
No, I'm saying I was fat and I was ugly. In my mind, I thought I was ugly, and I had no confidence. I was an introvert, which I still am, kind of. But at the time, people used to mock me a lot. And one of my friends actually told me, why don't you go and join a gym? Luckily for me, the gyms weren't that expensive, because the gym that I joined, it was just 100 rupees a month. Saal bhar ka aap samajh lein, like 1200 rupees, it was in 2 months. And then, for that, obviously, I had to fight with my parents. But it was either that or continue to get mocked.
And how old were you back then, Jitendra, when this happened? When you felt fat and ugly, how old were you?
I was 13, 14 years old.
Okay. And did you, because you were an introvert, because you were shy, did you take to eating and being fat, did it impact your self-confidence and put you further into a shell?
So, funny story. Before I became unfit, I was actually in a hostel, and we didn't used to get good food. Like, we were literally starved, and most of the times the food that we were eating had insects in them, right? So we just, like, it was like, food was sort of like luxury. So when I left the hostel, finally I convinced my parents to pull me out of the hostel. When I went back home, the food was good. So I just ate.
Right.
But I could realize I was just eating too much.
Wow, it just sounds like a lot done in a very short span of time. So kudos to you for that. Between the phase of 10 to 16, the bodies of these children are so fast evolving today, and especially the exposure to junk food, right, has created this vicious cycle. I'm eating wrong. I don't want to correct what I'm eating.
Yeah.
That eating wrong is making me fat. That fat is putting me, I cannot be fat, so I will resort into eating disorders or I will stop eating. And then I'm again back, but I want to eat because it makes me feel good. So, somewhere, this whole cycle, we're dealing with the highest obesity rates, we're dealing with highest mental health issues, and highest eating disorders. Um, how did you break out of that cycle? Because obviously when you're in that state, you were lucky that that one push helped you, but how did you break out of it, like get back to the 13-year-old Jitendra? And तभी आपको कुछ भी बोलो सिर्फ ज्ञान ही लगता है. Like I'm sure all teenagers feel like their parents are only giving them ज्ञान, but if you had to go back to that 13-year-old Jitendra and tell me that what worked, why did you listen to that friend?
Like I said, it was either that or continuing to get bullied. It was either that, and then I was not getting help from anyone. The drive in me was way too strong. Look, you can be something outside, but internally you're something else. And like it's just a physical body, but your thoughts, they are shapeless. You as a person, your soul, it's shapeless, right? So even though I was living in an perfect healthy body, the person inside me had a very strong desire to be something.
Right.
That kind of created the dynamics which allowed me to kind of just be at it. And it was not an easy journey. It took me a very long time to finally get fit, figure out the mechanics, and now helping so many people. So it just happened, working like 2 hours.
Right. And tell me, when we're dealing with parents and children today who are in this vicious cycle, what does that food do to those children? And I'm saying children between the ages of 12 to 16, when your bodies are, I just somehow feel that we introduce fitness at such a late stage to our children. It's always a solution to a problem. You're either fat, you feel ugly, or you suddenly have a health scare. It's always a cause-effect problem, right? It's never a habit, which I feel is very, very different from a lot of the other children across the globe. So what would you recommend to people between the ages of 12 to 16?
Well, personally, I found, and I have been about 3 years fussy, but I found that rather than restricting them, you should just educate them, and they basically copy what you do, right? So I'm fit, my wife is fit, we are both pretty fit, and so when we eat the right kind of food, the kids want to emulate you, because at the age you are their superheroes. Every daughter's probably an idol is his dad. Every boy's first love is his mom. So they will try to emulate you, and that's the age where you can actuate the behavior that you wish your kids to start actuating, and that's about it. A lot of people come to us asking for a solution to their kids' health, when in reality they themselves are unfit. Like an apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Right.
People need to understand this basic stuff. If you are unfit, your children are going to be unfit, at least for the first half of their life.
Right.
Later on, they grow up, they'll develop their own personality, they'll realize between right and wrong. But for the first half of their life, they're unfit, largely because of their parents, nobody else.
Right. Right.
I was unfit because my parents were unfit. And I have no shame in saying that. They agreed. They didn't know anything about fitness. My parents never did any kind of exercise.
But Jitendra, are we talking of a very evolved mindset? मतलब एक इंडिया है और एक भारत है, आपको लगता है, and because you have so many coaches, you're training so many millions of people across the country and across the globe, are we talking of two different Indias, and we're talking of very first world problems when we're talking of fitness?
Well, largely lifestyle disorders are a first world problem, because lifestyle disorders are exactly what? People not sleeping enough, people eating too much, people binge watching, people suffering from cardiovascular incidents. I mean, sure, these problems are also kind of making their way to tier 2, tier 3 cities, but you have to at the end of the day, nobody is getting lifestyle disorders because they are starving. They're getting lifestyle disorders because of a very bad lifestyle, which comes from overeating, eating too much, not working out, not exercising. So yeah, in a way, I do agree that these are first world problems. Now, whether people have insufficient budgets to solve the problem, I don't think so. It's just mindfulness. People just have to understand that hey, if you have a healthy body, you have a healthier mind. If you have a healthy body and a healthy mind, you are obviously going to do well socially as well as financially. So it's all common sense. Unfortunately, the education that we receive in schools or from our peers does not cover all aspects of physical, mental, social, and financial well-being. So I think it's an education problem, it's an awareness problem, and people are largely ignorant because nobody's talking about it.
Right. Tell me, if you were, if you were part of schools, how would you revolutionize fitness for children?
Make sports mandatory.
But abhi bhi mandatory to hai hi.
No, that's not mandatory. One PT class per day, that doesn't do anything. Sports are as important as math, science, history.
Yeah.
Because you probably take out the moral science class or the history class, and instead of that, have an additional class of sports sciences every single day. Teach them how to read nutrition labels right from the get-go. If you are not teaching kids how to take care of their own selves, what's the point in teaching them history, geography, and all the things? Because when they grow up, 90% of the time they're just dealing with their own problems. They're not worried about who did what in history. 90% of the times you are with your own self and you're dealing with your own problems. If you can't teach people how to take care of themselves, what's the point of telling them everything else?
Physical health is a very important part of mental well-being, right? Like I feel if you're physically fit, you're mentally fit as well. When you were going through this whole bit of overeating and being huge and fat and obese, did it impact your mental health at all?
It did.
And how did you get over it?
Look, I think, I can't recall the exact things, but half of the time you're spending and trying to convince yourself that you're okay.
But you are okay, you to confine yourself that fat is ugly.
Yeah, because that takes away a lot of your bandwidth.
Yeah.
But today, when I see a lot of people try to convince the whole world in the name of body positivity that hey, I'm okay the way I am, you're spending a lot of time trying to convince other people you're okay. You're only dedicating half of the time in being productive. The rest of the time is going into arguing and convincing people you're okay. You don't have to. So I'm saying you're never going to be 100% unless until you feel okay about yourself, and you can't really feel okay about yourself if you're not okay. So there's a feeling, and then there's the constant self-talk, which is I'm not going to exercise, I'm going to eat crap, I'm unhealthy, but I'm still going to convince myself I'm okay. So this is a self-talk which is taking half of your time. So you're not really productive. How can you be?
And that self-talk then goes on to social media where you're convincing other thousands and millions of people that I am unfit and that is okay.
Yeah.
I just got to embrace myself. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Also tell me, when you were at this stage and where you are today and when you're a father to a 9-year-old, how's your relationship with food, and how was it back then? How is it today? And how are you cultivating and developing that for your child?
Look, I'm not a very strict parent. That part I'll leave it to my wife. She's the strict one. I'm the fun one.
I like how most fathers want to not be the good, not be the bad cop, right? That's just always the mother's job.
Yeah. And I think it's not something that we've picked. It sort of comes to me very naturally. I'm not a very I love my daughter a lot. I want to give her the best of everything which I probably didn't have. I'm not complaining, but I just feel like, hey, I have a daughter, I have a wife, I have a small family, and it's for these guys, and they make my life worthwhile. So I have a very good equation with my daughter. Obviously, she's 9 years old, and she wants to eat. She wants to try something. In fact, yesterday we were having this discussion, and she was asking me, "Hey, Dad, why do people drink and smoke when it's not good for them. I told her maybe you ought to try sometime when you get older and find out yourself. And she was like, what? Are you seriously asking me to try it? I said, hey, unless until you try stuff and then make a decision for yourself, if it is good or bad, you'll always be kind of listening to people. I did that, and eventually I found out it's not good for me, and so I quit. So rather than kind of trying to restrict her, I kind of give her different kind of scenarios. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you do that, this is what's going to happen. Which one do you want? And then she makes decisions of her own. So if she wants to eat outside, I tell her, okay, you can eat the same food at home, and we can cook food at home. Why don't you order from outside and we'll make you food at home, which is what we have started doing. And then over a period of time, she realized, okay, the homemade food is actually tasty. Before she was not doing comparison, but now she started doing comparison, and she started like she is not ordering food from outside now. She's eating at home. So, see, I think a lot of people don't want to put effort into parenting. Most of the time, they're just complaining, crying, cribbing, but they don't really want to solve problems. And what is happening is every time a child kind of annoys you, and they do, if you choose a simpler path, which is to kind of shout at them or beat them, you're being lazy. And that is called lazy parenting. Okay, that is lazy parenting. And then obviously because you're doing lazy parenting, your child is going to react. And you're going to feel like parenting is such a burden. And in reality, it's a beautiful thing. Okay? But you have to work hard at parenting. Just like how you work hard at office. If somebody asks you to make a presentation, you don't just put everything in one and say, oh, it's done. Parenting requires effort, conscious efforts. A lot of people don't do conscious efforts in parenting.
Right. Right. Also, there's this, I don't know, but you could address it as a myth or bust the myth, which is children below the age of 16 should not be doing weight training because it does not help their height grow.
Height has nothing to do with exercise. It is largely genetic. And
no, I mean strength training.
No, even in strength training, sure. If you are worried about if you're worried that your growth plate would get affected, even though they don't, we have sufficient amount of research which says that, hey, your growth plates are not affected by exercise. If anything, it will improve your bone density if you start training early. But here's an interesting fact. You understand that most of the Olympic players, athletes, they win their medals in their prime. And the average age of an Olympian is between 24 to 26. Okay? And it takes 15 to 20 years of hard work to win an Olympic gold medal, which means that if somebody is winning an Olympic gold medal at the age of 25, 24, and you reduce 20 years, 15 years from their age, you understand that they started training when they were 4 years old, or at best 6 years old, 8 years old, right?
Right. Also, there's just so much confusion on the amount you need to train, the number of days you need to train, and about how hard you need to train. So if you were to really simplify it for someone who needs to start today, what would that be, if you could break that down?
There's no upper limit to how much you can train. I want to clarify this. A lot of people get scared that, oh, can I do this amount of workout? Look, understand Mazdoor, a guy who picks stones or a prisoner, they work out for 12 to 14 hours in hot sun, and they have perfectly physically fit bodies for a very long time, right? So human body is capable of so much more. So this unnecessary phobia of, oh, should I not train more, is unwarranted, uncalled for. Now here's the problem. People want to train too much in one day, which is not practically possible. If you start training early, for example, if you're a kid, you're a 4-year-old, let's say you started with your boxing training, you'll easily continue with your 1 hour boxing training. But as you continue to grow, your body will develop faster recovery, you'll build muscle mass, you'll have more stronger bones. And as a result of it, you will start training 2 hours because you're also pushing yourself. And over a period of time, the 2 hours will feel like a long. And then from there, you'll probably start training 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. See, an Olympian trains for 6 to 7 hours on an average, right? So there's no such thing called as too much training. But if you want to train like an Olympian, the biggest workout you have done is like getting out of the bed, probably walking a few kilometers, and then, if you want to do 6 hours of training, you die. Or you will get a heart attack, and then you will say, oh, too much training is bad for you. No, too much training is bad for you if that's your day one. If you've been training for 15 to 20 hours, a few hours of training is nothing. Okay, so it's very contextual. People should not just put a generic number, okay, this is the ideal number of training, or that is the ideal number of training. That is wrong.
And tell me, as a father who's so publicly known, what are the 3 or 4 values that you feel are extremely important in your parenting journey, and that you want to make sure that she has those?
I think I want her to know the reality of life. I don't want.
How do you teach that? I feel that is such a broad statement. I want my kids to know the reality of life because उन्होंने वो देखा ही नहीं है जो आपने देखा है.
No, but that's the thing. You have to show them that. You have to show them that. Like, for example, she's looking at these YouTube shorts, and somebody's throwing a stone at a dog, and the dog is, like wounded, not better, and she's crying for the entire day. And then I taught her that, look, Rachel, this is the reality of life. And if you want to do something about it, why don't you work hard? So someday you'll be in a position to help, because crying is not going to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you try to solve a problem, it's never going to be enough.
Right.
So just by telling them and showing her those things, and then trying to bring out that compassion, but at the same point of time, don't just cry about it, do something to fix it. I think that brings out that drive in her. So now we have stray dogs, 3 of them. We have 3 inside, spoiled dogs, and then outside we have 3 stray dogs. So building this relationship, teaching her that balance, that look, we can't get all the strays in our house, but we can still be kind, let them be in our garage, feed them food every single day. But at the same point of time, be mindful that some of the strays are actually dangerous and they can bite you. Right? So it's a process. I'm not saying I've figured it all out, but rather than trying to hide these realities of how this world works and how the world can be a dangerous place, but at the same time it can be really beautiful if you want it to be, I just want to make sure that she doesn't wake up one fine day and thinking that, hey, I've grown up and this world is nothing what I thought it.
What does food on your day really look like?
So I don't believe in the concept of breakfast, lunch, dinner. I have meals. So I typically consume between 2 to 3 meals. My first meal this morning, for example, is mushroom and palak gravy. And apart from that, I had like 30 grams soya chunks. Evening I'll have 40 grams soya chunk along with, it's a gravy.
Sorry, 30 grams of?
Soya chunk gravy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, along with that I have 60 grams of rice.
Wow, I don't even know what the 60 grams of rice is. Like one bowl is. You're so measured about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everything in our house is measured. We measure the food we eat, and so that also avoids wastage. And there's no surprises. I know my weight is going to be exactly the same 10 days from now, 20 days from now. I'm not like we don't wake up with surprise. I think that also improves our productivity, and everybody kind of knows what's happening. And none of us, like at least the 3 of us, me, my wife, my daughter, we like the boring, monotonous routine. We don't want to surprise it.
Right. This is really interesting. Any bits that you would like to conclude with in terms of fitness and fitness for families?
I think we give a lot of importance to days and events, and we put our happiness in one basket, which is I'm going to be happy on somebody's birthday, I'm going to be happy on somebody's anniversary, or I'm going to plan my wedding in such a way that it's going to be the best wedding, and that's the most happiest day of my life. I believe when you do that, you put too much into a very small listing, and because of this, you miss out on everything that's in front of you. So, in our family, we exercise being happy every single day. There's not one event that makes us happy. There's not one thing that makes us happy. being together every single day that we are alive makes us happy. And that's what people need to practice, because no matter who you are, how rich you are, life is fragile and anything can happen in any instance. And so every single day you have to practice that. Hey, I have my family, I have to love them today. I'm not going to leave that for one day. So there's time for family, there's time for work, and no matter what happens, I'm always going to spend time with my family and I'll make sure I love them. So I think this is something which a lot of people don't do till it's late, and then they're filled with regret and bitterness. I don't want me to do that kind of. I've been to every parent-teacher meet. I've celebrated all my daughter's birthdays. I've been there. And look, I don't care if I'm too busy or what, but my daughter needs me, I'm there for her. That's all. I believe this is what parenting is for me. Like I said, I haven't figured it all out. I'm trying to be a good father and just doing that by being there for her. That's all.
Thank you so much. This has been an incredible chat. And I hope to stay connected with you and, of course, do this someday in person as well.
Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now.